Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I filmed a Halloween tutorial. Yes. This is my first ever attempt at filming, well, not filming, but first ever attempt at doing a skull look. And I don't know how I feel about it just yet. We'll see. So I wanted to do, of course, a skull look, but I didn't want to be like super basic on it. So I went to Instagram, Pinterest, and I tried to come up with some inspiration from other people. And it didn't turn out like I wanted it to. So I wanted to attempt to do something similar to this. Very like paint-like, but I want it to be like more skull. And my paint wasn't runny enough. I used the Mehron Basics paint palette, which I really like, but like I said, it just wasn't runny enough to kind of create that. So then all of a sudden it just became like straight, like just paint on my face. I ended up really liking how the skull was turning out, and then I added all this paint, and then it just kind of took a turn into a completely different direction. I still feel like it looks okay. It is still really artistic, and like I'm like a painted skull. I don't know how to explain this, but it's okay. It was my first attempt. That's the great thing about makeup, is that it can wash off even though it's all up in my hair and I just showered. I wasn't gonna film this. I was just gonna kind of like practice and see like what I wanted to do, what I could improve on and things like that. But I was like, whatever, I'll film it. If it doesn't turn out good, I won't post it. If it does, then we'll post it. So yeah, that is all I have to say. If you guys want to see how difficult it was for me to film this tutorial and do this look, then stay tuned and keep watching. Let's go ahead and get started, guys. So first thing I did was I primed my face just to make sure everything was smooth and no paint was going to get into any of my pores. And then I took the small detail brush that came in my Mehron palette to start outlining my eyes. After I started outlining my eyes, I then started to fill in my face with the white paint from the Mehron palette. And I have to admit, I wasn't too big of a fan of this paint. I used a foundation brush to fill it in first, and it was really streaky. Then I switched over to a beauty blender, and it was still like, you could still see my skin peeking through. It was really hard to kind of even it out, and white paint sucks. I probably should have used like a super pale foundation, but whatever, now I know. So yeah, I switched back and forth, and I'm just filling in all the areas that I won't be filling in, like most of the black. This is me just attempting to draw the nose portion out before filling it in with any white. So I'm just tracing it, and I used the picture to reference, so definitely do that. I was watching a lot of tutorials as I was filming this too to kind of get my inspiration. So yeah. So now I'm going in to fill in all of the black areas. So my nose, then I'm going to fill in my eye area. So after I finished filling in my eyes and nose with the black paint, I then took some black eyeshadow from the Lorac palette, but any black eyeshadow will do. I started to set the paint so it doesn't crease, since my eyes and my nose are the areas that get the oiliest. I had to set it. Setting it will also help the paint stay really dark and matte, which is nice. After that, I tight lined my eyes with black eyeliner just so you don't see any of like that flesh tone peeking through. Now just taking some more white paint and a smaller detailed brush, I started to fill in the areas that my skin were peeking through, around the nose, around the socket of the eyes, and the paint just like was not balancing. I also probably should have took the white paint all the way up to like my hairline, but because this was my first attempt at doing it, you're gonna make mistakes and you're gonna learn from it. So yeah, but I kind of covered it all up at the end of it, so whatever. And I knew I was gonna have my hair down, so like I didn't want to get paint all up in my hair. So here I am just creating some frown lines. You can kind of squint your eyes and see where your lines are, and then I'm gonna draw the outlines of the teeth. So the teeth were the hardest parts. I definitely will do this different the second time around, but they were a little difficult. So here I'm just drawing the, what you would call the Chelsea smile, and then I'm filling the inner part of my lips with the black paint just so it kind of blends in all together. Before I start doing the teeth, I filled in the cheekbone socket area, and I just kind of drew this out from pictures that I've seen or what I thought it looks like, and just kind of follow your cheekbone area. And then I just started thickening it and shading it in a little bit more with the black paint. Now for the teeth area, I started right in the center of my Cupid's bow to kind of even out the teeth. What I would do differently is, instead of drawing the line so long, I would do it a little shorter just so I can create the teeth to look more like teeth. You'll see what I'm talking about when I start shading it in. And then I would draw the lines uneven. Like I would start with the center line longer and then go shorter throughout the entire area. So this part, I'm just shading in that black area to create some more dimension in there. And I go in with black eyeshadow to shade up my face too, so don't worry about that. I wanted to draw some like cracks and lines in my skull, so I just kind of squiggled some black paint everywhere, and you know, kind of came out cool. Once it's shaded in with black eyeshadow, it looks so much better. Then I added another frown line in the middle of my forehead there. I also started to do in the temples area. I realized that I didn't draw that part in after I started shading it. So I just kind of drew it in on both sides, and then I filled it in with black paint. This is where the skull starts to look more like a skull, where you add all the shading and dimension to the look. So taking a fluffy blending brush and some black eyeshadow, you're going to start to shade in all of the areas where you painted black, and around it, around the eye sockets, all the cracks, and just kind of put it everywhere, honestly, because the white is so white and then the black is so black. You want to break that up so it doesn't look like it's just black and white. So I just started shading my face pretty much everywhere. So now for the hard part, the teeth. This is where I took a black eyeshadow and a angled liner brush, and I started to shade it in. I referenced some pictures, and some of them were really, really good and like so realistic, and some videos, but I just couldn't figure it out myself. Like I just couldn't figure out the groove. This is where I meant by I would have made the lines a little shorter just so I can fill them in more with the shadow and make it look more teeth-like. It says to create kind of like a triangle or kind of an upside down house or something like that. The description of it, I suck at that. But as you can see, I was shading it in to create that triangle, but I didn't feel like it looked like real teeth. But like I said, first attempt, and the second time around I will do it much better. So yeah. And just filling out the rest of my face, just shading in any areas that I think need more shading. Yeah, and that's kind of, you can leave it at that and do a black and white skeleton, but I thought I would step it up a notch and add some color. So I'm going into my Urban Decay Electric palette, and I literally took like every color in this palette with a fluffy blending brush, and I also just started shading around the black areas, around the areas that I shaded already, with all the colors, around my eyes, the teeth, just everywhere around my face. I started shading with color, and I took all the colors in the palette and I just started doing that. And like I said, if you don't want to add the color, you can totally stop at the black and white part. I thought it looked really cool before I started adding the color, but you know, I thought I would just step it up a notch and be a little extra, because I'm extra like that. And then this next part is where I also just took it a little too far and kind of messed up, and just was like, oh shit, I gotta go with it. I took the other colors in my Mayron, or the other, yeah, paint colors in my Mayron palette, and I started to wet it. I wanted to do like a dripping effect, but the first one obviously worked. As you can see, it dripped everywhere. And then I tried to attempt it the second time and it just wasn't doing it. So then I'm like, let me switch colors, add a lot of water, and see if it will run again. And it didn't run, and I was like, no! So then I was like, okay, let me try to stipple on the effect of it running. And that just turned out like bad. And I was like, crap. So then I'm like, let me add some more color and stipple on some more color. And then I was like, well, now it's a painted skull and not a runny, dripping painted skull. So that is exactly what happened. But hey, it came out kind of cool, I guess. But after you stipple on all the paint that you want, your look is complete. And this is what came of that. I added some paint to my hand, to my neck, and just made it a whole painted skull look. I hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial. I hope it was a little bit of, like, a little helpful. Subscribe, like, and comment for more. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you all later. Bye! Mwah.